I will do my best this year to not be political. It's hard because it's an election year.
That lady is just too happy for that moment. Like, the kid looks scared.
If I was her child, I would be scared also, right? Okay. Here's all the intended audiences, folks. It's this, okay? Look at their audiences. All I did was Google search Trump rally, and I Google searched Clinton rally. Okay? Who is their audience? Who's Trump's audience first?
White people.
Okay, white people. Okay? So, and let's go a little bit deeper, white people, but white rich people. Okay, what else? White rich people who are also Christian, right? Okay? So when Trump goes and delivers a speech, he is going to specifically give that speech to what audience?
White, rich, Christian people.
Yes. Now, last week he had like a roundtable discussion with some Hispanic leaders within the Republican Party. Now his intended audience is.
Hispanic people.
So now, what is he probably not going to talk about?
Immigration.
Okay, be more specific about immigration.
The wall.
The wall, right? He may not talk. In fact, he did talk about still wanting to build a wall, but what he and backed off on and said he would not do was deport all the people who were here illegally. Now that's been something that he has talked about quite extensively, right? About deporting people who are here illegally. But now I'm sitting around a table talking to Hispanics who arguably might have family members who could be deported. So now I'm not going to talk about it, right? It's his intended audience. Who's Hillary Clinton's intended audience?
Those young hip teens, man.
Yeah, she does. You know, Clinton,
just chilling in Cedar Rapids, you know. Get them Pokemon, go to the polls.
Okay. Clinton, her ratings amongst 18 to 35-year-olds are much higher than that of Trump. Okay? They're younger. That's pretty typical, actually. Democratic Party generally has a much younger base to it than the Republican Party does. Okay? So it's not like it's atypical just because it's Clinton, right? But her audience is much. What can we see about her audience? Tell me about her audience.
Diverse.
Yeah.
It's more diverse. At least in this image, right? Okay, and I kind of cheated and made sure I found an image that showed a little bit more diversity in her audience, okay? But it's more diverse. What about, like, diverse how, though?
You just see
Racial
a couple.
Racially, ethnically,
Age-wise, there's an old guy in the front there.
Yeah, there's an old guy in the front, right? But then there's some younger people in there as well, right? Okay. What about like religious base? Just looking at the image, right? Because you don't know much about Clinton. Do we know?
No.
No, we don't know, right? Okay, so when she goes and gives a rally, or when she does her acceptance speech at the Democratic National Convention, she is going to try to appeal to a much wider audience, right? And so when she gave that speech, one of the things that she did, because she wants to make sure to appeal to that broad base, is she specifically brings performers and famous people on to speak that do reach to that wider base. She brings Katy Perry on to sing for her at the Democratic National Convention. Well, why Katy Perry? Why not, like, I don't know. What's that? Yeah.
Because he's priceless.
Okay. I think, if I remember correctly, Alicia Keys was there too. Okay. Why? because she wants people to think I am young and hip. Her husband did this too and did it very successfully. He went on MTV, which at the time was, a fledgling new like TV show that actually did show music videos and not just other random stuff. And he went on this program called MTV Unplugged. Okay? And literally MTV Unplugged was, you'd have whoever, like Kurt Cobain or some other like big music guy, sit there with a guitar and just sing and not have any of the acoustics or the amplifiers or anything else like that. It was just pretty low key. But he goes on there and he plays his saxophone. Why? Because he's cool. Right? He's cool. Look at this dude, right? He's appealing to the young audience, right? The younger voters. He's cool. Okay? Now, like I said, pretty successfully ultimately because he winds up in the White House, right? So, but he understood his intended audience. Columbus's intended audience, who is he talking to? The king and queen of Spain. And also potentially anybody else that may want to come to the New World. New World, he doesn't know it's the New World, right? Come to the New World to seek their fortune. Okay? But they understand their intended audience. And you have to. Okay? You have to be able to look at that evidence and analyze it to then be able to use it to support a claim. Now this is a cartoonist, Thomas Nast. You will see lots of him this year. Lots of him, lots of Dr. Seuss. Okay? For real, Dr. Seuss did not really intend on being like really famous for writing children's stories, okay? He's a political commentator, and that's what he really likes to do, okay? But, so we'll see lots of Nast and Dr. Seuss. But according to Nast, this image is about Reconstruction, by the way, which we're not to yet. But is Reconstruction a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad thing.
It's a bad thing. Why is Reconstruction a bad thing? Right. I heard you say something. Yeah?
No, I just said according to him it was a bad thing.
It was a bad thing. Okay, why? Why, guys?
Because it was because the image sort of shows white supremacists, it's restoring the white supremacy.
Yeah, because they're still in control, right? The White League and the KKK, they're still in control. And if you look, you have this, it does actually physically say worse than slavery, which I don't know if you guys can see that far away from the image, but it does say worse than slavery. And here you have a poor African American family, and their child is dead. There's blood underneath the child here. Okay? The child is dead. So it is worse for them. Okay? So your evidence then, if you were to write a claim, an argument, you were to say slavery it is worse for African Americans in the South post-Civil War and post-Reconstruction than it was before. Okay? So then you have to use your evidence, right? That can be seen through the use of black codes, etc. Okay? The increased violence, lynchings, yada, yada, yada. The rise of the Ku Klux Klan, etc., etc. Okay? All right. Another big thing that's important is making historical connections. Being able to look at one thing and say, oh yeah, that reminds me of this that happened. Okay? So these two images, where are they from?
Yeah.
The trenches.
Yeah, they kind of look like trenches. Are they both
Civil War?
Is
Holocaust,
one a
mass
Holocaust?
graves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one's the
His
Holocaust.
body's
Okay.
yeah. The other one, Civil War.
Russian Civil War.
No. No.
Oh, I mean, Gulag.
Is it?
Gulag.
Mm-mm.
Is it? Is it in the U.S.?
Is it
Yes,
like
it is.
Is it the
Is it
Japanese
Japanese internment camps? So that's.
It's in the US.
No, but
It's U.S. It is not during the course of World War I or II. It is earlier.
Is it like
Slavery kind of?
Nope.
Revolutionary.
Native Americans?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
This image, this one here, was taken in Wounded Knee, South Dakota. Okay?
Jeez.
After the massacre at Wounded Knee. So, when we look at history, I'll often say, remember this or look at this, and then I might throw out this term, it's called synthesis. That's what the College Board wants you to know is that term, synthesis. Okay? But basically all it is making a historical connection and saying that what the Americans did to the American Indian people was a genocide. Much like the genocide that occurred in Nazi Germany. Now, I made a historical argument. Is it a right argument?
She defended well.
Okay? It depends on your opinion of it, right? Okay? Could you have the opinion, or maybe some of you do have the opinion, that no, what we did was not the same as what the Germans did. Right? You just have to defend it. That's all that you're doing. So far, so good, folks. Makes sense, kind of, sort of. Okay. 2 images, right? Now we have to compare. We can compare images, we can compare documents themselves, written documents, okay? 2 images of the Great Plains. This one was used for advertising to get people to move to the Great Plains. The other one is taken in South Dakota. It's a little bit more realistic. It's what you're going to get when you move to the Great Plains, right? Okay? According to this image, what is it like?
Prosperous, like a ranch, huge ranch.
Yeah, look at this land. What else do you have on that land?
You got a big house.
Yeah, you have a decent house, a good outside barn that's not your house, right? Your animals have their own house. What else?
Water.
You have water,
Yeah.
okay?
Flowers.
You have flowers. Look at your life. It's so nice. You
And
have
color.
flowers, right?
Color,
Okay.
too.
Well, yeah, it's in color, but I mean, it's easier to do that with a painting at the time than a portrait, right? You have some, like, quite a few cows back here, right? You know, your clothes are pretty clean. Your kids look like they're happy.
They're alive.
They're alive. Yeah, they survived that Oregon Trail, right? They didn't get dysentery or bitten by a snake or run over by the wagon. So they're alive, right? You guys have, I mean, is Oregon Trail, you guys haven't played it, or have you? Yes, no?
Yeah.
I know the Oregon Trail you guys play is like way different than what I played. What I played was like, you had either a black with green font screen or a black with orange font screen. And literally it was a floppy disk, like a disk that was like this big, and it was floppy. And you put it in, and it was like, oh, Oregon Trail. And you died of dysentery. Most of the time. Most of the time you died of dysentery. So anyways, okay, but this is comparison, right? So if we're going to compare 2 of our documents that we read over the summer, Columbus, which we've talked a lot about so far, and De Las Casas, what's the difference between Columbus's account of what's going on and De Las Casas?
He described them the way he saw it. De Las Casas.
Okay.
And Columbus was more. No.
Okay, Columbus more like, everything's roses, and De Las Casas is like, maybe not so much, okay? What else is different?
One's in first person and the other's not.
Yeah, so De Las Casas, who is a priest, right? He's a missionary, is much less like, "Rah," okay? Down with the Indians, kill them all, okay? And that's one of the big differences between De Las Casas and Columbus, is De Las Casas says, this is not right. We should not be enslaving and abusing and killing all of the Indians. It's wrong. It's not Christian of us to do this. And Columbus is like, well, they're weak-minded, weak-willed, they are savages, they don't know any better, and this is easy for us to take them over. Okay? Simple comparison. Does that make sense? So if you didn't get that down, okay? But based on that, which do you think is more accurate? Columbus or De Las Casas? How many you think Columbus? How many you think De Las Casas? Okay? How many you think they're both probably flawed? Okay? Yeah, they're both probably flawed, right? Okay? But based off of the two, which do you think would be more accurate? De Las Casas or Columbus? Based off of the fact that Columbus is writing, but they're both writing for a purpose, right? Columbus is writing to try to encourage more people, to get more wealth, to be able to go back again. De Las Casas is writing to try to get people to be more civilized, but also in order to spread Christianity and spread the Catholic faith. So they both have a purpose. It's not like they're innocent people by any means. Okay. De Las Casas also, by the way, remember, he forced people to convert to Christianity. Become a Christian. And if you don't, we will enslave you. But if you do, we will enslave you. Sign the requiremento that makes you say, okay, I will be a Christian. I have no idea what I'm signing. I don't speak Spanish.